Breaking news from around your world on this Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. I'm Larry Rice. A top official in Thailand said Tuesday that heavy rains forecast for the coming days could worsen floods in the cave where 12 boys and their soccer coach were located alive after an exhaustive search, and could force authorities to speed up their rescue by having them scuba dive their way out of the cave. The 13 were located by rescue divers late Monday night in the cave in northern Chiang Rai province during a desperate search that lasted more than a week and drew international help. Officials said Tuesday that the boys, ages 11 through 16, and their 25-year-old coach were mostly in stable condition and have received high-protein liquid food. Video released early Tuesday by the Thai Navy showed the boys in their soccer uniforms sitting on a dry area inside the cave above the water as a spotlight from a rescuer illuminated their faces. Cave rescue experts have said it could be safer to simply supply them where they are for now, rather than attempting to have the boys dive out. That could take as long as months, however, given that Thailand's rainy season typically lasts through October. Authorities in Indonesia were scrambling on Tuesday to rescue about 140 passengers from a ferry that sank off the coast of Sulawesi Island, killing at least 4 people. The disaster comes in the wake of last month's sinking of an overcrowded ferry on the Southeast Asian nation's Lake Toba, one of the world's deepest volcanic lakes, which took about 200 lives. There were also vehicles on board the ferry when it filled with water and sank Tuesday. The vessel was close to shore at the time. It was unclear how many people had been rescued, and television images showed dozens of passengers hanging on to the keel of the vessel or bobbing in the water wearing life jackets. Indonesia suffers frequent boat sinkings, with basic safety rules often flouted and vessels overloaded. After last month's sinking, one of the deadliest in nearly a decade, a 2-week search and rescue effort located the vessel at a depth of 1,500 feet, with bodies of victims trapped inside. But technical and logistical challenges forced the recovery effort to be called off. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un could follow up their June Singapore summit with a round 2, possibly in New York City in September, according to a report by Axios citing administration officials. The meeting could take place around the United Nations General Assembly. Trump declared that Pyongyang was no longer a nuclear threat after his meeting with the North Korean leader June 12th, although Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will be making another trip to North Korea this week to push for denuclearization. Council on Foreign Relations President Richard Haass said, "Since Singapore, we have seen a huge gap open up between the claims made by POTUS that the nuclear problem is essentially solved and the reality that it is anything but." President Trump has interviewed 4 prospective Supreme Court justices and had plans to meet with a few more as the White House aggressively mobilizes to select a replacement for retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy. Eager to build suspense, Trump wouldn't divulge whom he's talking to in advance of his big announcement set for July 9th. But he promised that they are outstanding people. They are really incredible people in so many ways, academically and in every other way. The president spent the weekend at his Bedminster Golf Club consulting with advisors, including White House counsel Don McGahn, as he considers his options to fill the vacancy with a justice who has the potential to be part of precedent-shattering court decisions on abortion, health care, gay marriage, and other issues. Trump's push came as the Senate's top Democrat, Chuck Schumer, tried to rally public opposition to any Supreme Court pick who would oppose abortion rights. The minority leader issued a campaign season call to action for voters to prevent such a nominee by putting pressure on the Senate, which confirms judicial nominees. A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's blanket detention of asylum seekers. Judge James Boasberg of the Federal District Court for the District of Columbia found that the Department of Homeland Security was ignoring its own directive to release people who had shown they have a credible fear of persecution in their home country and give them humanitarian parole while their asylum applications are considered. Under the Obama administration, Immigration and Customs Enforcement granted parole to more than 90% of asylum applicants, but under the Trump administration, that figure has fallen to nearly zero. Judge Boasberg said, to mandate that ICE provide these baseline procedures to those entering our country, individuals who have often fled violence and persecution to seek safety on our shores, is no great judicial leap. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office said that disgraced film producer Harvey Weinstein had been charged with 3 more sex crimes. A grand jury indicted Weinstein on 1 new count of criminal sexual assault for an alleged forcible sexual act against a third woman in 2006 and 2 counts of predatory sexual assault. Weinstein was previously charged with rape and other crimes associated with forcible sex acts against 2 other women in 2013 and 2004. He pleaded not guilty to those charges in June. The new charges carry potential sentences ranging from 10 years to life in prison. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has denied allegations that he groped a reporter at a festival in 2000. The event in Creston, British Columbia, was held to raise money for an avalanche safety charity with which Trudeau was involved. Days afterward, an unsigned editorial appeared in a local paper accusing him of groping a young female reporter. Speaking to reporters in Regina, Saskatchewan, while on a 3-city Canada Day tour, Trudeau said he remembered the day in Creston well, saying, "I don't remember any negative interactions that day at all." Trudeau was a 28-year-old teacher at the time of the event. He became involved with the charity Avalanche Foundation after his brother Michel died in an avalanche in 1998. CBC News made contact with the woman who was the subject of the editorial, who reportedly said she did not want to be associated with the story, contacted about it in the future, or have her name used in connection with it. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak was arrested on Tuesday in a stunning fall from grace following a shock election loss in May amid allegations of massive corruption and misappropriation at a state fund he founded. Since his loss at the polls to mentor-turned-foe Mahathir Mohamad, Najib has been barred from leaving the country and had millions of dollars of items seized from properties linked to him as part of the probe into One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB. Mahathir said in an interview with Reuters last month that embezzlement and bribery with government money were among the charges that Malaysia was looking to bring against the 64-year-old Najib, adding that they had an almost perfect case against him. Najib's arrest was in relation to a probe into SRC International, a former 1MDB unit, according to a task force investigating the unit. He is due to be charged in court on Wednesday morning. Sources close to the matter say he may face several charges. A Najib spokesman did not immediately have a comment, and Najib has consistently denied any wrongdoing. Mexican President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the leftist populist who won in a weekend landslide, said that he would reach an understanding with President Trump and confirmed that the two had spoken for half an hour on Monday. López Obrador said the leaders discussed development projects that generate jobs in Mexico, thereby reducing migration and improving security. Trump said he and López Obrador discussed border security and trade. Despite López Obrador's campaign vow to stand up for Mexico more forcefully than the current government, President Trump said he thinks the relationship will be a very good one. Trump also boasted that he had predicted López Obrador would one day be Mexico's president when he saw him campaigning for a different race in a different year. The European Union warned that it could impose retaliatory tariffs on roughly $300 billion in U.S. goods if President Trump follows through with his threatened levies on auto imports. European Commission spokesman Margarita Chianis said such a move by the United States lacks legitimacy, factual basis, and violates international trade rules. The EU made similar allegations about the U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum imports imposed last month. President Trump said those tariffs were necessary to preserve the U.S. steel and aluminum industries for national security. The EU called those tariffs pure protectionism and placed new duties on some U.S. products. Futures for the three main U.S. stock indices edged higher early Tuesday after they all shook off early losses to end higher on Monday. China's embassy in Washington has issued a security advisory to Chinese nationals traveling to the United States, the latest such warning as trade tensions escalate between the two countries. The embassy warned Chinese tourists to be aware of issues including expensive medical bills, the threats of public shootings and robberies, searches and seizures by customs agents, telecommunications fraud, and natural disasters. Tensions are high between the two countries over the threat of tariffs. The Trump administration is set to impose tariffs on $34 billion worth of additional goods from China on Friday, citing unfair Chinese trade practices, and has threatened successive waves of duties on up to $450 billion in Chinese imports. China has vowed to retaliate in kind with its own tariffs on U.S. agricultural products and other goods, and to take more qualitative measures if President Trump escalates the conflict. China's foreign ministry, when asked on Tuesday if the timing of the alert was politically motivated, said the summer was the high season for Chinese citizens going to the United States, and that Chinese embassies had an obligation to warn its citizens about potential risks abroad. A disintegrating Nike trainer shoe worn by Michael J. Fox in the Back to the Future sequel has sold for $92,100. The left shoe, made for Fox in his role as Marty McFly, is part of the film's pair of self-lacing Nike Air Mags. The 1989 sequel sees McFly and Dr. Emmett Doc Brown traveling to a futuristic 2015, where shoes have power laces. The money raised will go to Fox's Foundation for Parkinson's Research. Fox launched his Michael J. Fox Foundation after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1991. The shoe, originally part of a Nike employee's personal collection, was made available for pickup only from Portland, Oregon, as the shoe is so fragile it thought it would not withstand transportation via courier. Despite its poor condition, the shoe received 220 bids on eBay before its eventual sale. In 2011, 1,500 pairs of the shoe were produced and commissioned for auction to benefit the foundation, but those shoes did not have the power lace capability. The automatic lacing system patent was filed by Nike in July 2013. And that's your update for this Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting this podcast, and I hope you have a wonderful day.